Okay, hello everyone, and today in the IT, I want you again to practice speaking and reading in English. And the topic today is about tell me about a project you're proud of. Marcus, good morning, Husni. Husni, good morning, Marcus. How are you doing today? I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? I'm doing great. That sounds to hear. That's good to hear. So, are you ready for the interview? I think so. You think so? I'm a little nervous. That's completely normal. Thank you. Let's start with something simple. Okay, can you tell me about a project you're proud of? Sure. Take your time. One project I'm proud of is an employee management system that I built while learning Laravel. Interesting. The main purpose of the application is to manage employee information. What kind of information? Employee names, position, shifts, department, and training records. Why do you choose that project? Because I want to build something that felt like a real world application. What technologies did you use? I mainly use PHP and Laravel. What about the database? I use MariaDB. Did you use JavaScript? Yes, of course. For what? For some interactive features such as deleting data without refreshing the entire page and implement a search feature. Good. I also use Tailwind CSS for the interface. Did you build everything from scratch? Not completely. What do you mean? I use documentation and example when I needed them. It's normal. I also use some exciting libraries when they solve a problem I had. That's actually an important skill because developers don't have to reinvent everything. Exactly. What was the hardest part of the project? I think the database relationship were one of the hardest part. Why? Because I had to understand how different pieces of information were connected. Can you give me an example? Sure. Go ahead. An employee belongs to a department, okay, but the one department can have many employees. So that's one too many relationship. Good. I also had training records connection to employees. And what did that teach you? It taught me that designing the database before writing too much code can save a lot of time later. That's a valuable lesson. Did you make any mistakes? Yes. Tell me about one. Uh, at one point, I had a problem because I changed something in database structure without fully understanding the consequence. What happened? The application started returning database errors. How did you solve it? First, I read the error message carefully. Good. Then I checked the migration history and I compared the migration with the actual database structure. What did you discover? The structure wasn't exactly what I thought it was. So what did you do? I correct the database structure and tested the application again. What did you learn? I learned not to make change blindly. It's a good lesson. What does debugging mean to you? For me, debugging means finding the actual cause of a problem instead of just trying random fix. Can you explain that further? Sure, please. Then I see an error. I try to understand what happened before changing the code. Why? Because if I change random things, I may make the problem worse. Exactly. So I usually start with the error message, then I try to reproduce the problem. Good. Then I check the relevant code, and finally I test the solution. That's a reasonable debugging process. Did you work on authentication? Yes. What did you learn? I learned that authentication and authorization are different. Explain the difference. Authentication is about identifying who the user is, and authorization is about deciding what that user is allowed to do. Good. For example, an administrator might be able to create and delete employees' data, while a regular user might only be able to view the data. Exactly. What was something you struggle with? Sometimes I struggle with understanding errors. Why? Because some errors look more complicated than they actually were. Per chance, I started reading error message more carefully. It helped a lot. Why? Because error messages often give us clues about where the problem is. Exactly. What will you differently if you rebuild the project? I will spend more time planning before writing the code. What would you plan? The database structure. Anything else? The main user flows. What are user flows? The steps a user takes to complete an action. Give me an example. For example, a user logs in, opens the employee page, click the add button, fills in the form, submits in data, and then sees the new employee in the list. Good. Thinking about the flow before coding will help me design the application better. Exactly. Did you write tests? Not as much as so halfway. At this stage, I will still learning the basics. That's understandable. But I know testing is something I need to improve. What will you test? Important application behavior, for example, login, okay, form validation, or goods, creating employee data and updating the deleting data. Good. What did this project teach you about software development? That writing code is only the part of the part development. What are the other parts? Understanding requirements. Yes. Signing the solution. Yes. Working with data. Yes. Testing. Yes. Debugging. Yes. And communicating. Exactly. Let's say I give you a feature request that you don't understand. Okay, what will you do? I will ask question before implementing it. Why? Because I don't want to build something based on assumption. Good. I will try to understand the expected behavior, and if the requirement is still unclear, I ask for clarification. Will you be afraid of asking questions? Not if the question is important. Good answer. What if you receive a task that you've never done before? I first try to understand the task, then I break it into smaller parts. Then I research the parts I don't understand. And if you're still stuck, I ask someone more experienced. Will you wait until the deadline is close? No. Why? Because if I'm blocked, waiting long can affect the whole team. Excellent. What do you think is more important for a junior developer? Knowing everything? What's your answer? That's your answers? No. Then what? Having a strong willingness to learn. Anything else? Being responsible? Explain. If I made a mistake, I should take responsibility for it and try to fix it. Good. I also think communication is important. Why? Because even good technical skills aren't enough if you can't communicate with your team. Exactly. Are you satisfied with your project? Yes. Even that you know isn't perfect. Yes. Why? Because it represents what I knew at that point. And now I can see things I will improve. Does that mean the project failed? No. Why not? Because the project helped me learn. Exactly. If you show this project to another developer, what will you want them to see? I want them to see my learning process, not just the final result. No. Why? Because the mistakes and improvement are also part of the project. That's a measure way to looking at it. Thank you. One final question. Sure. What are you going to build next? I want to build something a little more complex, such as maybe an application with multiple user roles and more advanced permissions. Why? Because I want to improve my understanding of authorization. Anything else? I also want to improve the API side. Why APIs? Because I want to understand how different applications communicate with each other. Good. And what about your English? I'm working on it too. How? I practice speaking every day. Every day? Yes. How? For how long? If when doing is consistency for quite a while, has it been difficult? Sometimes. Why? Because speaking is different from understanding English. That's true. I can understand something in my head, but sometimes it's difficult to say it naturally. It's normal. So I keep practicing. Good. I think that's all for today. Thank you for the opportunity. You're welcome. I really enjoy the conversation. You did well. Thank you. You don't have to know everything. I understand. What matters is that you can learn and keep improving. Exactly. One project at a time. Yeah, one project at a time. One problem at a time. Yeah, one problem at a time. One lesson at a time. Exactly. Thank you, Marcus. Good luck, Usni. Thank you. See you. Okay, see you. And once again, see you in the next time.